Hi all, it's Dana here. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to do a little bit of framing with your embroidery pieces using an embroidery hoop. So this has been a really popular technique recently. Like if you go onto various cross-stitch sites like Etsy and whatnot, you'll see a lot of people framing their cross-stitch pieces in an embroidery hoop, which is actually a really pretty way to do it. But I've actually had a lot of people asking me, like, how do you do that? Because there's it's kind of hard sometimes to find information on that, or at least something that works for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a really quick and easy technique. So what you're going to do is take your hoop apart. So obviously this has been washed, it's ready to go. My last video showed you how to do the washing. So this one I probably should have left a little bit more space on the sides. You want to leave probably a good inch, 2 inches at a very, very minimum outside the inside edge of this the inside part of the hoop, just to make it a little bit easier on yourself. Of course, I like making things difficult on myself, so I made it too small. That's okay, I can still demonstrate this to you. So what you're going to do is, the first thing you're going to do is you can get your piece of felt ready. So this is going to be going on the outside, and I'll show you what that's going to do shortly. You can do a second layer to go on the inside as well to kind of protect the inside of the fabric, but since it's not really necessary. So what I'm going to do, sorry if you can't quite see this in the video, is just going to trace around the outside edge of the smaller of the two hoops. That's the inner hoop, and you're tracing around the outside edge on your felt. And I'll show you why in a moment. So this technique too, it doesn't use glue. Like, I've seen a lot of tutorials online that use glue, and I'm not so keen on putting glue on embroidery or anything, any kind of art, simply because if you're not careful and the glue isn't archival quality, like most white glues, craft glues are okay, but even then it's 50-50 whether it's going to be okay in the long term. So basically what will happen is, if it's not archival quality, then it will start to eventually yellow your piece where the glue is touching. So it could actually accelerate your piece starting to turn yellow, which is no good. So this way it's just stitching. There's no chance it's going to start to degenerate on you. Alright, so we've got our little piece there. So that's going to go like that. But first, what we're going to do, we're going to take our piece here. So obviously you're going to have to center this. Put your hoop on, and then you're just going to move it around and whatnot to get it perfectly centered how you want it to be. Actually, not too bad like that. Alright, so once it's exactly where you want it to be, you can see I didn't leave quite enough here to pull. Let's pull it down just slightly. Get a little bit more space. Alright, so that's pretty good. Pull more down. So it's important to make sure that this is exactly in place how you want it, because once this is done, the only way to move this in the hoop is to actually cut it all apart. Like, not cut the stitching, but cut up what you're about to learn, the actual mounting part. Alright, so you tighten up your hoop. Alright, ready to go. So what you're going to do now is you can trim off these little corners. Like, normally I would trim probably about 1 inch at least all the way around this edge here, and that's going to give you enough to kind of catch. But I'll just trim off these bigger corners here. This basically makes it less bulky for what we're about to do next. So you don't want to trim it too close, because especially with the Aida fabric or like certain types of linen and whatnot, if you trim it too close, it's actually going to start to fray the fabric. Like you can see, this just got a little bit frayed just from me pulling on it. So it's okay. You'll get the idea anyway. So what you're going to do is put a little stitch into there. And this part, it doesn't really matter like how super neat you are, because it's going to get hidden. I'm not one of those people who completely freaks out if something isn't absolutely perfect in an area where it's not going to be seen, just because life's too short. And I'll show you why in a minute, why this is not going to get seen. So I'm just using thread right now that's covering up, that's sort of the same color as the fabric, and that way it won't show through as easily. Alright, of course I'm going to run out of thread, so I'm just going to cut some more thread and finish stitching that up, and I'll show you in a second what happens. Alright, you can see now I've finished the back. One way you can do this is to I would go within like about a centimeter, just so you're not going to fray the edge, but you can actually go in a circle, in a running stitch, all the way around, like in and out, around, and then pull it tight. I find stringing it across like this, though, actually pulls it flatter. So that's just me. So you can try and see which way you prefer better, whether you're just like going around in a circle and then pulling it tight into a cinch, or whether you prefer the sort of spider web type effect. But yeah, you do have to make sure you're going fairly close to the edge here, so that you're not, so this tension on these threads isn't going to fray your fabric, which would be bad news bears, because then you have to start again and you might not have enough fabric. So what we're going to do next is we are going to stitch this over the back here like that, and that will help protect it. Like I said too, if you wanted to, you could put another piece of felt on the inside here, in which case you'd be tracing the inside of this hoop on your felt. You can do that, you can't do that. There's no real bonus to doing that. Some people like doing that just to help protect their piece, but yeah, there's no real benefit to it, because it's not going to be stitched down, and it's just going to kind of flop around on the inside if you move it around or hang it. So what we're going to do is I've chosen a really pretty purple floss. You can choose white, you can choose a different color backing if you want. I just happen to have some white felt lying around. So what we're going to do is, this is a blanket stitch that I'm going to be showing you. Super, super simple. If you've ever hemmed blankets before, the edges of blankets, this is exactly what you're doing. Alright, just anchored that, just to get my little bits of thread off of there, make sure it's all nice and pretty. Alright, we're going to center that. So what we're going to be doing, so with blanket stitch, it's really, really easy. So you're just going to be catching, so you're going to have to try and be about the same distance. It's going to catch through your felt, and then try to catch right up against the edge of your hoop here. That will help keep it nice and tight, and it keeps your stitching from accidentally fraying your fabric. Alright, so as you can see, this thread is coming around here, so that's actually going to catch it. Pull, 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 gently, gently, gently. Bam! Like that. It's the same thing, you get a little loop going, go through your felt, go through the hoop, not through the hoop, but through the fabric next to the hoop. And there you go. So basically you're just going to keep doing this all the way around, and obviously switching out your floss if you run out. So I'll do a couple more stitches just so you can see, and then I'll go to the last stitch, and you can see how I finish this off. One more. So yeah, you want to try and keep your stitches, it's about the same length as each other and about the same distance apart, so it looks nice and even. You can see there's no glue involved in this one, which I think is fantastic. Alright, so there's my little stitches, and I'm just going to turn the video off and go almost all the way around, and then I will show you how I finish off this thread. Alright, so as you can see, I've got my project almost finished here, stitched all the way around, isn't it cute? So, as you can see here, let's get that a little bit closer for you. So I'm just going to try and zoom that in a bit. Alright, so as you can see, I'm just about to finish this stitch here. So I want this to line up with here so it looks like it's all part of the same stitch. So what I'm going to do to finish, so I'm just going to go underneath this little intersection here. I'm sorry if this isn't focusing well. I'm using a new camera, so I'm seeing if this is going to work any better than my last one. So you're just going to go under. So you can catch either just a little bit of the fabric as well, or you can just catch a little bit of the threads. Doesn't really matter. Alright, go under. Alright, so you can see that's kind of joined up there. And then I'm going to go under again, create a little tiny knot. Alright, so maybe a tiny knot to make sure that's butted right up nicely against that so it's not too visible. And then one really neat trick for hiding your threads, like because you don't want to cut this here because then you end up with a little loose thread there, is if you go back into the fabric here and actually go through the back, try and weave it through as much of that loose fabric at the back as you can, and then if you pop it out the front here, I'll show you a little trick. My scissors. So if you pull this pretty tightly, it's going to stretch the thread just a tiny little bit, put some tension on it. So when you snip it, it should just disappear into the back and it hides that end. Done. Alright, so that's the back of your little piece, and so what you can do now to hang this up is you could get like a nice little piece of ribbon or something, or you could braid some of your extra floss and whatnot and hang that up. So that's it. This is how to frame your embroidery in a little loopy thing like that. If you have any questions or comments, please do feel free to let me know in the comments below. I love hearing your suggestions for different topics for me to do. It's really interesting for me seeing what people have issues with and what they'd like help with. If you'd like access to the free patterns on my site, this is one of them. This is the Blackwork Heart. You can just click on the little link that's up on the right and you can sign up to access all the free patterns. If for some reason that link isn't showing up, it's in the first link in the video description as well. And as always, please subscribe so that way you get notified of when the next video is going to be showing up. And if you enjoyed this video, please share it. I love helping others learn neat, interesting little tips like this. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.